Good morning. Today's session of Moments with Clara will address very briefly the idea of denial. Are you living in denial of child loss? Now, that might sound like to some people that's a bad thing if you say yes. Yes, I am. I am in a session of denial. And a lot of people will say, that's just not good. They're not addressing the problem. The parent doesn't really get it. The parent isn't willing to face the facts. They're living in denial. Well, what is denial? Denial is the idea that you're not quite combining your mental thoughts with what your heart is feeling, and therefore you're not processing the grief at the rate that it has happened. Now, that sounds like a big mouthful, but actually what it means is your heart isn't ready to accept what your mind knows. And so we go into a place called denial. I've done it. I've been in and out of denial several times during the grieving process, which continues on, by the way, for the rest of my days from the loss of both of my sons. That doesn't mean that I'm not processing my grief. That doesn't mean that I'm not understanding that both sons died. I get it. I totally get it. But there are moments when it's absolutely too painful to face that for whatever reason. Maybe it's during a holiday or a birthday, or maybe something special that's going on in my life, and I don't want to carry that heavy, heavy grief with me. So I slip into what's called that denial for a period of time. I know that any of you who have lost a child understand what I'm saying. Again, that doesn't mean that we don't grasp what has happened. We totally get it. We know that our child has died. We understand that, but there will be times when it's simply too painful for the heart to carry what the mind already knows. So is denial dangerous? Is it a terrible thing? Does it mean we're not processing our grief? None of the above. Not at all. Denial is, in fact, a form of helping us to step slowly, methodically through our grief. Just because we slip into a period of denial for a time doesn't mean that we've slipped backwards in our grief. It simply means that today I've decided to step out of the heaviness of that grief and give myself a little tiny break from the heaviness of it all. Does that make sense to you? I'd love to hear your comments on this. In the book, Child Loss, the Heartbreak and the Hope, I have dedicated an entire chapter to this idea of grief and denial and what it means, and how actually it's a safety for us to slip into denial for a short period of time. And then when we're ready, when our heart feels ready, we face reality once again. Give me your comments, will you? I'd love to hear about this. I know often we feel ashamed, embarrassed, or we feel that we're somehow not processing our grief properly if we are in a period of denial. I don't believe that's true at all. I believe we're given that gift simply to help us get through some rough spots. Child loss is hard. There's nothing easy about this type of grief. And let's face it, every now and then we need a brief break from it. This is Clara talking to you today with your Moment with Clara. Leave me your comments, please. I love to read them. I will comment back with you. I love getting to know you. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you next time with another Moment with Clara.